Hello, everyone. Welcome to another FPC NFL Sunday on a Thursday. That's right. It's Thursday night football. We have the Bengals and the Jaguars, the battle of the last two number one overall picks. I am your host, Ian Glenda, joined as always by Mr. Braden Hollisack. Braden, how's it going today? How you doing? I heard it's raining up there, wherever the hell you are.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a slow day, but mostly good. And like you said, two former number one overall picks squaring off tonight. So actually really excited as much as probably the national casual fans probably aren't looking forward to this game.
No, look, I'm right there with you. I mean, I haven't had too much of an opportunity to sit down and really watch Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, I had a lot of last year. I had a lot of hope for Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, he suffered from an injury that cost him a lot of his season. But I had predicted prior to the season that he was going to be the guy who was going to break these rookie passing records, whether it was touchdowns or yardage. It ended up being Justin Herbert, but Joe Burrow nonetheless has the talent and certainly has the talent around him to do something like this because, look, you got a guy like Joe Mixon running the ball 285 yards already through three games. Joe Burrow's played pretty well. I mean, what has he got? 7 touchdowns right in front of me. I have it. So 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 640 yards passing. Coming back from that pretty big knee injury. I mean, this is a big deal for the kid. Like this is essentially once again I don't want to call it his rookie year, obviously because he played a decent amount last year, but having to come back and get a full season under his belt for the first time is going to be pretty big for him.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad you mentioned the talent around him because that's what has kind of led to, I think, his good start and obviously his bounce back so far this season. Where you look at the other side of the game tonight in Trevor Lawrence, and I think I saw a stat today that if he loses tonight, he'd already have as much regular season losses in the NFL as he had across both high school and college. So it's the talent around him that I think is obviously leading to a slow start for Lawrence compared to what we've seen with Burrow. So it's going to be really interesting to see how both offenses kind of come out attacking tonight and kind of displaying both of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Jaguars are approaching 20 straight losses. I mean, this is a team that just isn't talented. So, it's not going to be easy for Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, the biggest problem with him so far, and there are issues. I mean, like I said, coming in as the number one overall pick, you're going to have a lot of high expectations. Oftentimes, very unrealistic expectations. It all comes with the territory of being the number one pick. He's already thrown 7 interceptions this season, which that's not a good thing. He's only thrown 5 touchdowns. Now, again, he's not in the best situation, but I've said it from what I've seen of the kid so far. He reminds me not so much of another quarterback per se, but of me playing Madden, and that's not a good thing. I tend to get a little bit too high on myself, and I end up throwing a lot of interceptions. And I'm not saying he's getting high on himself. I'm just saying the interception part is not good. And he's always good for, certainly able to huck the ball down the field and make the big play. Certainly capable of that, but he has a little bit too much recklessness in him, I think, early on that he has to start shaking out, or it's going to be a long season. And, once you get in the habit of playing like that, it's going to be a hard habit to break for him if he doesn't clean it up soon enough.
Yeah, and the little bit that I've seen from him, mostly from the Denver game, timing was kind of the biggest thing that he's been adjusting to. It looks like a lot of late reads, late throws, and especially on some of those interceptions, it seems like he's just kind of staring down this guy that he's wanting to fit the ball into, and it's just the defense is kind of reading it pretty simply right now. So it's kind of interesting to see, how kind of hesitant he's been, so far. So like I said, it's really going to be interesting to see how they come out tonight.
Looking at the Bengals for a minute, last week, pretty big win. I'm going to pat myself on the back and say I picked the Bengals to upset the Steelers, although I do get the feeling that as we go throughout the season, we might look back at this and say, okay, it wasn't really that big of an upset because I think through 3 games, I think we can come to the conclusion that, Big Ben just, he's not right. But for the Bengals, 2-1 in a division that's year in, year out pretty damn tough. I mean, with the Steelers, I mean, they still have a good defense. The absence of TJ Watt is obviously going to be a big deal and something to monitor moving forward. His health is paramount to that defense's success. But it's still a pretty tough division. You have the Ravens in that division. You have the Cleveland Browns, who look like they a little bit slower than we anticipated, but they seem to be progressing positively this season. Where do you see this Bengals team? Because I'm trying to, it's pretty hard for me to figure out because I like Joe Burrow. I like Joe Mixon a lot. I mean, maybe I cursed them last year because I also picked Joe Mixon to lead the league in rushing yards, and he got injured. So I apologize, Bengals fans. Where do you see this team in maybe within this division and just in the AFC in general?
Yeah, it's kind of weird so far. I mean, we all know how good the offense can be. I think the defense obviously has been really impressive, and they've made a lot of moves in free agency the last couple of years. But last year it really didn't amount to much. You're kind of seeing, the thing that wins you a lot of football games defensively. Turnovers are starting to happen for them, and they're getting to the quarterback more often. So I think honestly, as long as the offense continues to play the way they can play. I think if the defense is playing like this, I think this could be a team that is always going to be able to play spoiler every week. I think they're about probably 500 is their ceiling, and I could be wrong on that. But I honestly think that this team's probably playing a little bit above their expectation right now with Zach Taylor kind of leading the way. So still a little skepticism for me, but I really like some of these young players. I just think I just think honestly, there's going to be coaching eventually that'll kind of become questionable for them. Honestly,
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's a real tough. It's a real tough. You can't. It's going to be hard to get a read on this team playing the Jaguars. I mean,
yeah,
we expect them to go out and win this game, so they're going to be 3-1. But it's not like they're going out and beating one of these top echelon teams. It's the Jaguars. Most of us think that there's a good chance they're probably going to have the number one overall pick yet again next season. But I'm right there with you. I think there's cautious optimism with this. We've talked about the Bengals coaching before on various different shows. I know you like it. I like it. I like Joe Burrow. I like Joe Mixon. I think the direction of this team is certainly heading in the right direction, as opposed to where it always was before, where it was just inevitable that this team was going to land somewhere in the middle of the pack and really accomplish nothing. Obviously, health. I mean, you have to stay healthy. The Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow hookup looks like it's just one of those special elite. Like, what's coming. I'm picking him every single week in daily fantasy. It's always Jamar Chase on there because I know he's going to catch a touchdown. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. This is a team that could be really exciting to watch, and one that can really climb out of the depths of this division where they've really, honestly been overshadowed. I mean, they haven't even been the most compelling bad team. That's been the Browns.
right.
I mean, so it's like it's been the Steelers, the Ravens, and then it's like the battle of the two bad teams. And, well, the Cleveland Browns are always more of a entertaining show. So guess what? The Bengals get overlooked. So I'm always excited to see that. I'm excited to see it on a national stage and not just kind of watching, red zone or watching the game kind of 50% trying to get through it. I'm interested to see it on a national stage. And like I said, obviously seeing Trevor Lawrence as well. Before we get into, we're going to do our play pickup props today, but unfortunately I had a little snafu with the graphics. So you're just going to have to listen to me read them for everyone out there. But we will be getting to those in just a little bit. But first, I got to ask you about it because you're the Chiefs guy. You're the Chiefs guy. Josh Gordon heading to Kansas City. What do you think his role? Maybe not just his role, but what do you think his overall impact is going to be on this team? Because you got to remember, look, this guy has a whole lot of talent, but everywhere he's gone, he's fell. I can't speak today. Apparently, he's fallen pretty short of expectations. What do you see his expectations heading to this Chiefs team that has a lot of talent and has a lot of high expectations of their own?
Yeah, I honestly, I think he's a guy that he doesn't have to come in and produce necessarily at a high rate necessarily, like 6-7 catches a game. I think honestly, if he makes a couple of plays a game where it's either extending the drive on third down, hitting a home run deep down the field. I think honestly, just hitting those one or two times a game is kind of the expectation. I think realistic expectation anyway for most people right now. And he's kind of obviously different body type, but I think he's going to play that Sammy Watkins role of just being a guy that can separate all over the field, whether it's underneath or deep. And I think honestly, he's a guy that, as much as they want to throw the football deep, that's going to be a perfect fit as far as vertical push. And I think a lot of people around Kansas City are excited about his size, his body type. I mean, that's something they just haven't had in that offense with Mahomes. So I think that's probably one of the things that people are most excited about. Seeing him at practice, I kind of forgot how big he was. So it's something that's kind of weird that people are getting excited about that. But I think, just hitting those couple big plays a game and kind of being, I don't want to say a security blanket, but a guy that I think he can be definitely more reliable than the secondary receivers that they have right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You touch on it a bit. The size. I mean, he's somewhere between a wide receiver and a tight end when it comes to size. But he obviously plays like a wide receiver, and he has that ability to really dominate on the sidelines for sure, and all that. So I mean, the big thing, obviously, and it's always been the thing with him, is his addiction problems, the things that he's the substance problems that he's had to deal with, that's kept him off the field for the majority of almost the last 10 years now. I mean, that's it's been a long time since 2013. It was a very long time ago, or like I said, 8 seasons ago. So to expect that would be a little might be a little outrageous, but again, at the end of the day, it's a great talent to add. And the Chiefs really have nothing to lose here. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it's again, you have to, I don't want to say expect it, but you also have to be aware that that's certainly a possibility that it's not going to work out. But for the time being, this definitely is going to help them in the long run. We actually, unfortunately, Kyle's not here with us. He's our fantasy guy here, but I do have actually a question on Facebook, and I need to get in a better habit. So I apologize, James, if you're still watching. I got to get in a better habit of watching these chat comments so we can actually get them up there and get some questions. So let's throw some fantasy into the mix. Mark Andrews or Gronk this weekend, and I'll throw it to you. I'll give you the pressure of having to make this pick right now. And what do we got? The Ravens are going up. Have it right in front of me. Well, go ahead, answer my question, and I'll try to get more info for you.
Yeah, I actually have Andrews in a couple of leagues, and I'm playing him in one just because he's my only tight end in that one, but I'm sitting him in the other just because my matchups that I have for other guys, Logan Thomas and Gesicki, I think are a lot better than what Andrews has. So, I mean, Broncos have so many guys that they can kind of shade him with or double him with that I think it's going to be a very touchdown dependent kind of performance for Andrews. So actually, I do like Gronk a little more here. He's been obviously really hot to start the season, scoring a lot of touchdowns. So I'd be willing to take him knowing that he's also playing the Patriots.
Yeah, there might be a little extra motivation in there, not only on his part, but on the part of Tom Brady to maybe get him a little extra. So, yeah, I would agree, and obviously, I might have Gronk playing in a daily league, or so. We'll see, because again, we're not going to get too much obviously into that game. We'll do that on Sunday morning when we do our actual real FPC Sunday show, NFL Sunday show on actual Sunday. We'll get into that, but I like that matchup. I don't like it so much for the Patriots, but again, that's a conversation for another day. Speaking of Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, though, perhaps in response to Josh Gordon, not really, but in response to a lot of injuries and snaps lost in the secondary, the Buccaneers went out and signed Richard Sherman. It came together pretty quickly. Tom Brady was a leading force in this, trying to get him over and certainly convince him to come play. I'll answer this and then I'll throw it to you. I'd say, again, very similar to Josh Gordon, not so much in the riskiness in terms of is he not going to complete the season. Obviously, this is not the Richard Sherman that won or was named back-to-back All-Pro nominations. But given the situation in this secondary and given his recent play, I mean, it hasn't been, peak Sherman, but I think it's good enough to help this team. Plus, again, I mean, it's hard it's hard to discount the experience that he brings, the leadership that he brings, and just the overall, just his presence alone in that secondary, in that locker room, I think is going to do wonders. And again, if Tom Brady likes him, pick him on up. So, you like the signing, I'm assuming, or you gonna go against the
Yeah, I think it's a good move just because, like you said, I mean, similar to Gordon, I don't think he has to be, what he was with Seattle and San Francisco on being the go-to guy. I think it's a really good fit for him. I think from a schematic standpoint as well. And looking at what they've had in the secondary so far, I think these are all guys that can honestly, defend pretty well at all three levels of the field compared to where some teams really struggle defending deep. So I think that he fits this, kind of gels in well with those guys there. So yeah, I think it's a really good move for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, there's a chance he plays this weekend against New England. But if he does, it'll likely be in a pretty limited role just because, again, as he admitted himself, he was probably going to need about a week or so to kind of get himself kind of into game shape. And he hasn't played all season, so I don't doubt that is true. But there is a good chance you might see him on the field, if anything, in some fairly select packages. So before we get to this game and get to our prop bets and then obviously make our bet, I do want to go back and I do want to actually go back to the Sunday game for a little bit, just real quick. I can't resist it. The Sunday night game between the Patriots and the Buccaneers, because I mean the storylines obviously are been talked to death. Unfortunately, it's the wrong storylines. It's all the drama. It's the books. It's the breakup. It's all this. And this kind of relates to some of these young quarterbacks, because the thing is, Mac Jones, lost in all this, as crazy as it sounds, is Mac Jones is the guy that was tabbed to be the replacement, the long-term replacement for Tom Brady. He's going to be on this stage too. It's not just Tom Brady. It's not just Rob Gronkowski. Where do you see Mac Jones within this grouping of obviously the rookie quarterbacks this year, one of which is playing tonight, Trevor Lawrence, and a guy like Joe Burrow? Because some have said, okay, Trevor Lawrence is at one level, talent-wise. And I think talent-wise, yeah, right, raw, right off the college football field, raw talent, yeah, absolutely, you can kind of see it. But are you one that says, okay, maybe it takes a little bit of time for these guys to develop? Maybe, Joe Burrow ends up being the best of this young group. We didn't see Justin Herbert coming until obviously he was on the scene. So of these young quarterbacks, I'm talking about year one, year two guys, where do you see Mac and where do you see Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence kind of in relation to one another and just in the big picture wise? I know it's a loaded question, but we're bringing it all back to this past two number one overall picks going head to head tonight.
Yeah, and I think Mac is, as far as just talking about situations, I think it's probably the best or second best of these current rookies. The only one that I think would top him is maybe Trey Lance, but I mean, both those situations could still improve greatly. I think, honestly, if I had to say the best of this young group, I'd probably go Herbert over Burrow, just because I think Burrow has just a little bit more limitations to me. I think as far as just an accuracy standpoint, making any throw on the field, I think being able to just kind of decipher defenses and different looks, I think Herbert's just a step above me for Burrow. But I think, honestly, thinking back to last year's class, I mean, you look at the injuries for Tua, you look at how he's responded in big games. I think Mac's still got to be probably top 4 or 5 for me right now. I'm on this group, probably number 4 if I had to really make a decision on that.
Well, and that's the thing. We're really going to get a nice dose of some of these guys in week one. Or I'm sorry, I apologize. In like a prime time mode, because obviously tonight, Thursday Night Football, we get Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. Sunday Night Football, we get Mac Jones. This is the opportunity we have. There's a new wave. There's a new era of quarterbacks. We saw Drew Brees walk away. We saw Phillip Rivers walk away. Ben Roethlisberger's on his way out. Tom Brady's probably got like 10 years left, but so forget about him for a minute. He's going to stick around forever. But now we have this about half the league, and I'm just literally throwing out maybe like 10 teams, maybe a third of the league right now are being led by first and second year quarterbacks. And this is, I think, for the first time in a while, you look across the board and say more often than not, they're all looking pretty good. I mean, we've had so many times we've had classes of quarterbacks come out. Obviously, they get hyped, all this stuff. And then it's just like a couple of years later, they're out of the league or they're with different teams. I mean, look at Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. I mean, no offense to Jared Goff, who obviously still is a stable quarterback in a situation up in Detroit. But, the point is they bounced around their teams already. We've had other draft classes where, it didn't quite work out. But the last 2 years, these groups, this collection of first round quarterbacks, I think the league set up for quite a bit of success moving forward once, again, these old guys finally walk away and it is really the age of the new young quarterback.
Yeah, and I think just the evolution of the offense right now in the NFL, I mean, all about pace and space. I think that's helped a lot of these guys entering the league, and it's just different styles that you can win in as well. I mean, you look at going back to 2019 with Kyler Murray and the dual threat ability. You look at, Mac Jones, who's kind of a guy that does really well with, winning with the short passes and kind of taking what he's given, not trying to do too much. I think that's what's really stood out to me is just all these different styles of these younger quarterbacks as well. Teams have found what they like and they've kind of built their teams differently and they've made it work. So that's like you said, really exciting for where the NFL is going, especially for someone like me who loves offense. So I cannot wait to see like what happens with some of these situations moving forward. We've heard a lot of, rumors around Tua and the Dolphins. When is Mac Jones or not Mac Jones, sorry, Trey Lance going to get, the starting gig officially. So a lot of headlines that from a projection standpoint are really exciting to look forward to.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said different styles too, because I mean, they're not all the same. It's not all just, okay, we have a bunch of running quarterbacks. I mean, no, Mac Jones is more of a throwback. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is kind of he reminds me a lot of the build and the way he runs, like Colin Kaepernick. Just I don't know what it is. It's just maybe their styles are completely different, but just the way he plays and when when Colin Kaepernick was at the height of his game and he just took those long strides where it's like you felt like no one was ever going to catch up with him. Well, Trevor Lawrence is kind of that long, lanky kid too, and he has an arm, but again, he's a little turnover happy. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I just hope that like guys like Matt Nagy don't ruin Justin Fields before it's too late, and we unfortunately get to lose him in the mix. So, all right, so let's do our play pickup props, and we're going to pick this game because we want to get people out of here. We want to get them ready for Thursday Night Football. We only have a couple, like I said. I mean, I didn't unfortunately have the graphics up, so you're just gonna have to use your mind on this one. Sorry, folks over there at Play Pickup. But over under, how many points will be scored in this game? Over under 46.5. Now, the Bengals, they have a pretty good defense. Jaguars, they don't. Both offenses have the opportunity to put up a lot of points. So my gut's telling me this is a game that's probably going to be fairly high scoring. And based on what we've seen every Thursday Night Football game so far this season, I think it's going to get a little out of control and wacky. So give me the over on this one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go under. I'm just kind of banking for a couple of turnovers by each team, actually, not just Jaguars with what they've already had. But I'm going to go under. I think it'll be kind of a late scoring, more in the second half. I don't know if we'll see as much in the first half tonight.
Well, I did have this other one, but I think I just exited out of it. So I'm going to just make one up on the spot, and I hope this makes sense. No, here we go. Okay. Which wide receiver trio is going to have more yards? Chase, Higgins, or Boyd, or Shark, Jones, and Chenault?
Give me the Bengals on this one. I kind of think that the Bengals are going to actually air it out most of the night. I think they're going to ride how good of a game Burrow had last week, so they may not run it as much in this one. So I like the Bengals trio here.
Yeah, look, I kind of sang Jamar Chase's praises earlier, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm taking him. I wish I would have drafted him in all my. Actually, only played in one league, and I can't even handle that. So don't take my advice fantasy wise. But yeah, give me the Bengals on this one. I think, if anything, maybe if Jacksonville falls behind, um, perhaps that pushes, the yardage and everything up for the Jaguars across the board. But the reality of it is, I think the Bengals, and this might be giving away my pick. We're going to make it here in just a minute. The Bengals, I think, are going to be doing quite well on offense tonight. So this one is the one I was going to make up off the top of my head. So I don't know if Play Pickup has it. But since you mentioned turnovers, I was going to say under total turnovers in this game. I'm going to say over under 3.5. Because again, you have to take into account that Trevor Lawrence has been a little turnover happy. Joe Burrow has 4 interceptions. Not bad, not great. There's potential there. 3.5 turnovers in this game.
Let's see. Let's go over on this one. Lawrence has had multi-interception games every week, and with Burrow, there's like his are always kind of weird where there's like tip balls. So I'm gonna bank on at least one of those happening as well. So I'll go over.
Okay, we're gonna agree on all 3 of these. Actually, no, I think we just disagreed on the first one. Either way, we're agreeing on this one. I'm taking the over. I might have set the number a little too low, but I'm trying to have faith in these young quarterbacks, especially Trevor Lawrence. I want him to impress me today. So, without further ado, before we say goodbye to everyone, your prediction for this matchup, and if you want to give a score, by all means, do so, because that makes it more interesting and more things to call you out when you're wrong. So, Bengals, Jaguars, who do you got, Braden?
I got Bengals winning 28-14. I think their defense is actually going to probably impress people the most tonight. And I guess if we want to do bold predictions again in this game, I'll actually say one of the Bengals scores will be a defensive touchdown today.
Okay. All right. I like it. So I got the Bengals winning this game as well. I got them winning 34-21. I do think that they get it going offensively. And yes, Trevor Lawrence is going to give them one too many opportunities, perhaps in short fieldage. I don't think it's going to be a pick six. However, I do think that Joe Burrow, it's not necessarily a bold prediction, but I do think he throws 4 touchdowns today. So big game from him, big game from the Bengals, and the Bengals move to 3-1, near the top of the AFC North. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at FullPressNFL, and join us at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Sunday as we preview the entire slate of Sunday, including, yes, of course, Tom Brady's return to New England. Have a great night, folks. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, and we will talk to you on Sunday.